Over the past months, Russia has been actively advancing throughout the Donetsk region. During the last 24 hours, it was confirmed that they have advanced south of Bakhmut, where Putin troops are reportedly already fighting in the streets of Klishchiivka. Also, mercenaries from Wagner's group seized a railway station northwest of Soledar. And finally, Russian troops are trying to wedge in between Bakhmut and the village of Krasnohora. Despite active hostilities in the Donetsk sector, Ukrainian intelligence believes that Russia may plan its next major offensive in the Zaporizhia region. Recently, the number of attacks there has significantly increased, although no territorial advances have been made yet. However, other experts say that Ukraine may also start its offensive here. Today, we will talk about what to expect in the coming weeks and from which side to expect the opening of a new front, in addition to the existing Donetsk one. Ukraine has been planning its counteroffensive operation in the Zaporizhia region for a long time. If it is successful, Russian troops will be divided into two parts, and the situation of military units in Crimea will become critical. In fact, Ukrainian strike towards Melitopol may be the first step in the occupation of entire southern part of Ukraine. This is well understood by Russia, which is why it has long ago deployed a contingent of about 20,000 people there. The problem of Ukraine is that with the long-announced interest in the liberated Zaporizhia region, there are no actual weapons with which to conduct this counterattack. When Ukraine liberated the Kharkiv region, it did it at the expense of mobile groups and their quick breakthrough into the depth of the enemy's defense. And the wavy terrain contributed to these advances. After all, it was possible to protect yourself from enemy fire by covering yourself with the uneven terrain. For example, let's take a look at the topographic map of Kharkiv region. As you can see, the height difference here is an average 60 meters, or 200 feet. And now, let's look at the Zaporizhia region. There is absolutely flat terrain from the front line to Melitopol, which could be the new target of Ukrainian strike. In the case of the Zaporizhia region, tactics with fast mobile groups will not work, because there is a plain, and any artillery and aircraft guns will easily stop the attack of those groups. Accordingly, for breakthrough in this area of the front, Ukraine needs tanks and armed vehicles. And although just the other day the UK announced the transfer of 14 tanks, this number is clearly not enough, and Ukraine hopes for the lifting of the ban on the supply of German Leopard tanks, which Europe has a relatively large number of. In the absence of heavy offensive equipment and constant changes in the terms of its transfer, Russia has been able to build a reliable line of defense on the occupied positions and gather the necessary troops. And now, having a clear advantage in weapons and manpower in the Zaporizhia direction, Putin may try to take advantage of this and strike first. The main territorial achievement of Putin for 11 months of war is a land corridor to Crimea. However, the width of this corridor is clearly insufficient. HIMARS, for example, cover all of this width. Therefore, Russia may decide to launch a new attack on this section of the front in order to push Ukrainian troops back another 10-20 kilometers and thus make a military use of this corridor more secure. It is unlikely that Russian generals will dare to storm Zaporizhia, because every month the Russian army is getting weaker and weaker, and if it is so difficult to capture the 70,000 Bakhmut, then the capture of Zaporizhia, with a population of 10 times more, looks like an impossible task. The future development of the situation will largely depend on Ukraine's partners and the speed of the transfer of heavy offensive weapons, in order to carry out the planned operation and prevent Russia from seizing the initiative in this area of the front. And finally, a clever video from the Ukrainian military, who used a drone to pick up the enemy's radio station on the battlefield and listen to their conversation for 10 days. And that's all for today. If you want to support this channel, the link to Patreon is in the description. Or just leave a like or comment below. Live in peace.